Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Toku Portal podcast. I am Vashi V, and joining me today are.
Did it again?
And Dry. And Drago will be joining us when he gets here. He's just running a bit late, but he really wanted to be here, so we're definitely not doing this without him. But until he gets here, it's been. So, welcome to LupinRanger versus PatRanger versus KyuuRanger, the movie. Hey, Drago.
Okay, here.
We literally just started. So, this movie takes place during LupinRanger versus PatRanger. Sometime after Lupin Red gets Lupin Magnum, but before their identities are revealed. So it's been a while since this series has ended, so we've had time to sit on this, and we've had time to sit on Kyuranger for a while. So my first question is, what is your current opinion of Kyuranger? Decade?
Current opinion of Kyuuranger?
Thinking back on it, how do you feel about the show?
Yeah, it still really hasn't changed much. I think it'd be a fun series to binge watch, but week by week it was kind of a grind, so it's okay. But I definitely liked how some of the characters were written in this movie for sure.
Drago?
KyuuRanger is okay. I think it's not. It's okay. Let me say. Okay, for most of the KyuuRanger, other than the beginning and the end, KyuuRanger is great. But like the beginning and the end is so mediocre that I really it overall becomes an average show. Yeah,
Right.
that's my opinion on KyuuRanger.
Like, for me, KyuuRanger, like Decade said, watching it week by week, it was a drag, especially the start of it. I ended up hating most of the characters until about halfway through the show. Um, it it dropped the ball on character development with certain characters for certain. As a whole, I do like it, even if the mech fights were fucking useless and overall pointless. Um, because they literally existed just to sell the toys. Other than that, there was no substance to it. The story itself picked up phenomenally. I'm not gonna lie, over where it started with, and as a whole, I did overall enjoy it by the end of it.
I didn't. I didn't hate the characters during the first arc, even though I don't like the first arc, uh, because none of them got any development. So there was nothing to like or hate, except for Lucky, who was just really annoying. This was especially disappointing since we were getting our first actual female Green, and she is one of the characters that got shafted the most on character development throughout the entire series.
Most of her development came in one of the specials that came out with it.
Not specials, rather it came after the series was over, and that was Space Squad versus KyuuRanger.
And that was a great movie.
Yeah.
Uh, and then there's Garo, who just got, the bad end of everything.
I mean, literally for us, he was literally a walking gay joke.
At no point did I actually feel like half of the KyuuRangers were contributing, and Garo stood out the most because he tried the hardest.
He truly did, and then I'm guessing that's kind of why they gave him the unearned badass moment. towards the end of the series. Because literally most of the show, he's just seen as he's a wolf. He was the puppy following around Lucky.
He was the dog that is loyal to his master, which led to some great translation choices on TV Nihon's part.
Which is why he became a running gay joke.
No, okay. Half the fan base was convinced he was gay, but until and in Space Squad, I would have preferred that over the what do you call it, Space Squad thing that he had a kid with someone else. Because
Ju-
it is not even a joke at that point. By the end of KyuuRanger, to be honest.
So seems Decade is having some connection issues. Hopefully he can come back in and join us again. But we're gonna keep going. How do you feel about LupinRanger versus PatRanger? And now Drago's gone.
That could not have been timed any better.
Let's try that again. Drago, how do you feel about Lupat?
Lupin is amazing. It's okay. At the beginning, I was little not sure about how if I would like the show or not, because Keiichiro and I didn't understand like what they were going for with Keiichiro, and I get it's a big Lupin the Third joke with like the cop, allowing Lupin the Third to escape as thing like that. But like I didn't get like where they were taking everything, and especially like compared to the LupinRangers, the patrangers, I felt like they got the short end of the stick in the beginning. But then as I saw the show, then I realized like what they were exactly going for, and the slow burn in that show was slow, but it was like all worth it. And I really like everybody in that show. I think except I'm like not a big fan of Noel, because his development came, all of it came at the end, and for the most of the part he was just mysterious.
Like Lupat for me is perfection in a series. Even with the slow burn, the slow burns through the plot, despite the fact that we were doing the podcast for it, if we weren't doing the podcast for it every week, it wouldn't have been noticeable to us. And it only was because plot is one of the big things that we talk about on the podcast, is like, and there really wasn't much of it. It was
I think it's one of my favorite tokusatsu.
Oh yeah, it hands down one of my favorite tokusatsu series.
Easily in my top 3 Sentai.
Oh yeah, easily. And from what I've seen, it's my top Sentai. Granted, I haven't finished much of the Sentai. I've watched everything since Shinkenger.
The two that are like competing with it for me are Kyuuranger and Kyuuranger.
I can see that. Kyuuranger was amazing, and I did actually see that one in its entirety. Kyuuranger, I haven't finished.
It's so good.
Okay, unpopular opinion. I got bored of Kyuuranger by the episode 30, so I dropped the show.
That is unfortunate.
Yes, like basically, it's just that I like this show. It's the characters don't sit well with me, especially Ban and then I forgot the name of the second guy, and I don't like the male characters in that show at all.
That's fair. The characters are kind of one-dimensional.
Yeah, and that kind of hurt my watching experience. And then the sixth ranger came, and he basically just became the cool guy for a few episodes, and then I got tired of his stick as well, so I dropped it.
But like for me, LupinRanger is a show where you can focus on the characters, and you don't feel like you're getting shafted by the plot. Even the villains are very fleshed out. Well, the generals, because Monsters of the Week really don't care. It's like, but even they felt a little fleshed out, more so than most Monsters of the Week, where it's just, oh look, there's a rampaging monster. It's like these all the monsters in it had their own unique way of trying to become the new leader and all that, and it's like each monster had goals that they wanted to do, and it's just fantastic.
For me, it's kind of like the opposite of KyuuRanger, where in KyuuRanger there was a lot of plot development, but there was very little for characters to grow. But here, like, it's mainly about the characters themselves, even like the villains, monsters of the week. And the plot by the end of the show was basically the same as when it had started.
It very much was like looking at Lupat and KyuuRanger in of itself is like they both very uniquely try to do two entirely different things. Every aspect of both shows are completely different from how Sentai has been approached in the past. One did an okay job, and that's KyuuRanger because it had its faults of basically trying to do too much too quick. Whereas Lupat tried everything on the flip side, where it was focused on characters rather than plot, and minimized the characters to basically three. Granted, yes, we had two different teams, but each team was only three people. So it drove down the need to push the plot so fast because it gave them more time to work with the characters that were there. And it was just executed beautifully. And not to mention the fucking cinematography in that series was perfection.
Yeah, and one more thing I think I'll say about Lupin Ranger doesn't feel like a Sentai show, but rather a slice of life show starring Sentai characters.
It's very much a slice of life. If the people who just had to just randomly fight monsters.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
Like you could take out the monster fighting aspect, and you would still have a good drama here of cops who visit this restaurant once a week.
And like you can leave in like the thieves aspect and all that, literally just take out the monsters.
And it still works.
It would still work beautifully. Like, and especially when Noel shows up and starts playing both sides of the fence. So, are we gonna talk about the other one? Or are we just gonna wait till that
not yet,
up?
not yet. Wait until that happens. So, let's start with the same way this movie starts. The kidnapping scene. Where, in KyuuRanger's universe, there is a galaxy-wide famous musician named Minato Hoshi, or something like that. And for some reason, he is here, and he kidnaps 3 random people on the street who happen to be the LupinRangers, and someone is helping him. Vashi?
Goddamn Jelashito! So, I have, and I discussed this with Ray, because there was debate on whether or not it's actually Jelashito or if they just reuse the costume. I firmly believe, through evidence of the shows that he has appeared in, it is truly Jelashito. He's gone from being human garbage in KyuuRanger to being a teacher in KyuuRanger to being a guest at that fancy ass palace that Minato visited to being the manager of the biggest star ever. He has climbed his way up from being human garbage.
That is a character development over the multiple seasons that I really respect. Salute to Jelashito.
So, here's my question. Is that Jelloshito? Cast your votes
The
now.
answer is yes. Yes, it is.
Decade?
Yes, it is. Somehow he ended up in the KyuuRanger galaxy.
Well, he legitimately was, because when the KyuuRangers went to that resort palace thing, he's in the background
Right.
of the shots when
He's
the
in there
when they
for
get the
like,
call,
you see him in the shot for like a second.
as a guest, because he's just lounging with people around him.
And also, there were a lot of portals that open in KyuuRanger's world to the regular Sentai universe. It happened 1, 2, 3 times, yeah, already.
So, for those of you who are wondering who we're talking about, Jelloshito is literally a throwaway villain from Kyuuranger, and we love him.
The bad guys literally threw him in the trash.
He was in love with a female general, and she threw him out with the oversized garbage.
Proof that you can come back from anything. Jelloshito, the ultimate success story.
I mean, okay, do you guys know that Ash won the Pokemon League, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the only
So-
10-year-old with 22 years of experience.
I was about to say, after 22 years, Ash is the oldest 10-year-old alive.
Okay, Bart Simpson hasn't beat, but yeah.
Yeah, but Ash is fine. Ash, out of both of them, has actually accomplished something finally.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
Well, that didn't involve crime.
So, what would drive the like most famous musician in an entire galaxy to kidnapping people for ransom? Well, he fell through a random wormhole and ended up in this universe where no one knows him. So, what else was he supposed to do?
This whole fucking kidnap plot is the best. It's just, meh. While I'm here, might as well.
So, Decade, you disconnected for a bit. How do you feel about Lupin versus Pat? Decade? Alright,
So, where's the kid?
Okay, I think he's having mic issues, so we're gonna keep going until he can talk again. So, the thieves take being kidnapped very nonchalantly as soon as they realize that their kidnappers are just a fucking wreck that don't know what they're doing.
Like, the funny thing with the kidnapping overall is the fact that he did it right in front of the cops.
Well, the cops showed up. What was he supposed to do? He couldn't mug them anymore. So not only do they encourage Minato to ask for ransom money from their boss, who is of course rich, they like get mad at him afterwards when he asked for so little money.
Fuck you, I'm with more than that.
You know what? The thing is that it's so in character for these people, because now these guys are professional thieves. They're literally a sentai of like of robbers. So they would get mad like for us if they asked a little. So that's
So they take over their own kidnapping. And what better thing to do for them?
Just in general, I really liked the global police's reaction because it's been a while since we've seen the show. Last time we saw their identities have been revealed and all that. So just watching the global police actually worry about the safety of the thieves was pretty nice. And then Kogode and Noel were just hilarious.
Just the sidelong glances between the two of them, especially once they took over their own kidnapping. Noah, both of them looked at each other like, "Yeah, that's them."
Oh, the situation has changed. What's even better is when they're yelling at Minato for asking for so little and they're telling him to do it over and ask for more. Balance and Naga show up in the middle and get involved, like, yeah, you do it over, ask for more. And then when they realize that they just appeared out of nowhere, everyone panics, including Balance, except for Naga.
Oh God, I've missed the BN thieves.
Oh, and then they do their own little, like, handshake. Ah.
And the fact that we needed this crossover because BNTs and what do you and LupinRangers crossing over. This entire sequence is still hilarious. Like, I still get memories of that sequence whenever I think about it. Because it was a really, really good, well made scene. And one thing that I really like that it works because this crossover movie like, in the middle of KyuuRanger or in the middle of LupinRanger because all of these characters are both of these teams have enough recap. They are now definitely good. It's really more interesting to watch that crossover.
Alright, unfortunately you were cut out a little bit, so not all that got through, but I was able to hear the general idea, so hopefully people listening to this can catch what you said. So, we've got this huge team up now between the Phantom Thieves, the BN Thieves, and Minato asking for more ransom money, and the Lupin collection that's in the hands of the global police. So, naturally, the global police who want to protect people agree to do so. Except this time, Balance and Naga disguise themselves as Minato and Jelloshito to do the handover. The money, the guitar, the MacGuffin guitar for this movie, and the police's global Lupin collection pieces. Unfortunately, the handoff does not go quite as planned, as they are interrupted by a Ganglar with 3 saves, who tries to steal the guitar. With no other choice, the Phantom Thieves end up using the police's tools to transform and fight.
And fail miserably.
Yeah. Go ahead and discuss this fight.
Well, just the Minato Jelloshito switching with Balance and Naga. I wonder how long they've been planning that bit because that was pretty funny. They do look quite similar, and yeah, the fight was pretty fun. This one looks pretty.
Like, I like the fact that they touched on the fact that the police's, transformation devices is built for, defense and attack versus agility. And the one point where Umaka tried to, zip line away, and, the police don't have those. because it just pulls out the badge. Like the fight, it was a good fight, and I like seeing the characters out of their element, and this is a was a very good way to do that.
Yeah, it was a really good way to. Uh,
And since this is before the reveal, it was good to see them like not do well, not like fight well, to draw suspicion away from them that they could be the Phantom Thieves. Since hey, these guys barely know how to fight. Like look at them get their asses wrecked.
Like, and that worked well, even with justifying it as it wasn't the fact that they were intentionally not trying to do well. It's just they couldn't because it's not what they were used to. Like that was a nice play, and then them getting admonished for it after the fact.
So, meanwhile, Hame, Spada, and Stinger are enjoying lunch when they see Minato on the news and realize something's up and realize, hey, we really need to like gather everyone together now. So basically, all the KyuuRangers are here. They're just separated for some reason. Back at Jiraiya, Balance and Naga hand the money back over because they didn't actually need it. They just needed the guitar, which is gone now, so they need to go after it. And the Phantom Thieves agree to help because they need the treasures that are in his 3 safes. So their alliance is not over yet, but they have no more need for Minato to be here.
Okay, so the KyuuRangers got separated because they don't have Decade or D. That is the answer.
Yeah, no world jumping tour guides.
Yeah.
Well, it was either that or they brought bananas.
Lucky
Yeah.
probably brought bananas. That's why he got arrested.
I just find it kind of funny how Don Arcage and the gang are like McDonald's colors. I'm not sure why they went with that. That's kind of interesting.
McDonald's is a huge Toei sponsor.
Yeah, but why would you color your villains McDonald's colors? That's
I don't know.
just funny.
I think you're just hungry because I didn't see that.
They're red and yellow. I mean, obviously.
But like, my first thought was not McDonald's.
No, my first thought. It kind of stands out.
And yeah, Lucky was arrested when he kind of got in the way of the police stopping the kidnapping from happening. But eventually Tsurugi shows up, explains everything to Director Hilltop, and gets Lucky out of jail. And Keiichiro asks Lucky a really interesting question. You could have busted out of here at any time. Why didn't you? To which Lucky's answer is, because that'd be against the law.
Which is a very good answer for him. Like, it fits with the Lucky that we had at the end of the show. Very good Ranger, very bad King. But damn, he's a shit.
One thing that I really enjoyed is the entire questioning of like what do you call it? PatRanger questioning the Lucky reminded me of the Drive Ninja crossover, and also the fact that I just realized that Don Armage is anagram for Armageddon.
Yeah, that like caught me by surprise too. It's like I did not catch that at all.
Yeah, and I do like the I do like the fact. One thing I really would have like to see is that Otori Tsurugi trying to convince the UN that he's from another universe. But I did enjoy the I did enjoy this entire PatRanger Lucky. It is quite good.
Ah. So the Ganglar uh, is working with Don Arkage, Don Armage's Kage Musha, basically his backup in case anything happened to him, which it super did. And they're after the guitar because Dark Matter's secret treasure for some. It's like, I guess it holds a ton of planesium, which is the energy source in KyuuRanger. So, the LupinRangers, alongside Balance and Naga, bust in to steal everything back. At the same time, Hame, Stinger, and Spada's squadron are infiltrating as well, and we get one of the best lines. Vashi?
Don't mind the details. Cause why the fuck are you here? I had that as a splash screen on my phone for a while. After it was just literally, why the fuck is Jewel the World there?
Oh, no, not that yet.
Oh, not that. Sorry, my bad.
No. I'm talking when Umika points out how many colors the KyuuRanger has.
Oh yeah,
And
she calls them a box of crayons.
Kyrie calls them a box of crayons.
It was Kyrie.
Yeah.
One of them did. My bad. I got the trigger for what I wanted to talk about mixed up.
That was you that was laughing about the post of it the other day.
Yes. But yeah, that is one of my favorite lines in all of Sentai. So you're about to crayons then.
There's 12 of us. Sounds like a box of crayons to me. Any comments on this big fight?
Yeah, it was pretty fun seeing the teams work together, and Kyurangers kind of struggle against the Ganglar because they didn't have to deal with BS treasures. But yeah, other than that, not much. Oh, and the finishers. All the finishers throughout this whole damn movie were super pretty.
Like I loved the point where Naga and Balance goes, yeah, these are our friends. We're saviors. I thought you were thieves. We can do both. Like that was a nice touch given the fact of how LupinRanger ends.
And I do like the touch of how they're so used to fighting Ganglars with collection pieces that they know to look for the signs of when the pieces are activating. And especially since this guy is a very brute force kind of monster, and they're all about mobility, like they are that much better at dodging the attacks than the KyuuRangers are, who usually fight their opponents head on.
Like this is as MacGuffin as this movie ended up being. They executed this one very, very well with a different fighting styles because usually it all just kind of blends together into a giant hot mess of just colors fighting. But they did a good job of paying attention to the fighting styles, what the characters would be good at fighting against and wouldn't be good at fighting against throughout this movie, which to me makes this one of the better Sentai movies that was made.
And I just had a smile on my face like the entire time I was watching this movie.
Minus the giant what the fuck that I accidentally spilled just now.
Like, the only thing that I missed was, like, I really like early KyuuRanger where their finisher, they all say it together, All-Star Crash! Which we don't get this movie, they use one of their later finishers instead.
But it was still very nice and very pretty. Like the finishers for both of these shows worked really, really well together, with them being very, very visual.
With the Ganglar defeated, the two teams start to, converse a bit. Wherein Spada comments like, yeah, our work isn't done yet. But Chuma asks a very good question. This isn't your galaxy. Why are you going through so much trouble? And Stinger, who is the best character to give this answer, I don't want to happen to you what happened to us. And with his backstory of his entire home planet, like, having been wrecked by his older brother betrayed them. Like, the only other person who would be appropriate for this would be Garo, who had his entire race nearly brought to extinction.
Like, as much as I hate to say it, I'd even accept Lucky. Only because what happened with his planet, where his king kind of got bought, and they became a giant puppet government, and rebelled. But the Stinger, especially, it makes it all the more powerful knowing his backstory. Though I do wish they would have flashed back so we could see Melon Lord.
So our other group, following the PatRangers, tries facing Don Arkage head-on while he absorbs all the planesium from the guitar. Lucky just rushes in head first, as he is wont to do, and yet it's Keiichiro who tells him, don't rush in without a plan.
And his plan is just but I do like what do you call it, Lucky just goes to create an Achilles heel pretty much.
Like, it really worked. Like, Keiichiro being the one to tell him not to rush in makes sense. Even though he is very kind of hard-headed and brash throughout most of the series, that's him showing that he cares about, what's going on and wants to do this the right way, nobody to get hurt. And seeing that Lucky is very much the type of person to do that. And then the fact that, Lucky actually did have a plan.
And you can even go back and watch when Don Arkage is achieving his transformation. Like, there's actually, like, a giant hole where Lucky was hugging him. So it actually kind of, like, shows you what Lucky was doing before it tells you. And no, I did not catch it the first time through. I had to go back and look at it. So, the KyuuRangers all gather back together. And Balance and Naga kind of tell Stinger about the thieves that they met. And this kind of little like touching moment where they get to just talk to each other is one of the things that was missing from KyuuRanger as a show in terms of character development.
It's not even character development, but rather, KyuuRanger didn't need to develop all of its characters, but rather have them sit down and talk to each other once in a while. I mean, it's like it feels like half the team didn't even talk to the other half while watching the show, and that was kind of my issue with some of the stuff in KyuuRanger because it was so focused on like the plot and the fight that it forgot that it has characters. Except in the middle of the show. Middle of the show was pretty decent with that, but in the beginning and the end, that's what I thought was missing.
Like it focused that like to me the beginning of the show focused on Lucky and the plot, and then fuck, I cannot remember her name to save my life. Pink. Raptor, and her wanting to be in love with the cook, Yellow. Other than that, it was just, hey, here's Garo following everybody around and them all doing other shit. Like, there really wasn't much conversation of characters just being themselves.
So, all teams gather together for the big showdown. We get a surprise appearance from the missing KyuuRangers, Sholampo, Raptor, Champ, Kotaro, that's his name.
Totoro, it's you the world.
Yeah, so we get all 7 Lupin Rangers and PatRangers, all 12 KyuuRangers, and Duo the World.
Like, and the best part of that was like they're all trying to do the get. Well, why are you? How did you get here? Blah 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 blah, and it just becomes a big thing. And Duo of the World just pops up. Goes, who cares about the details? To which everybody responded, "Who the hell are you?" He's kind of
he's not on any of the teams that are relevant here.
He just showed up and went, "Bad guy over there. Let's do this."
Okay, you know what? I don't think that this joke is hilarious, but since I haven't seen KyuuRanger, so I'm not really like I don't understand the character as much. But I think that the Gemini Kyutama separating Patra and X and Lupin X into two separate people would have worked better in this instance because we would have gotten to see Noel as both Patra X and Lupin X at the same time, which that's kind of my issue with adding Duo the World if they wanted to just use him to complete 20 people functioning at the same time.
I don't see it as wanting to hit 20 people. I see it as they didn't do KyuuRanger versus KyuuRanger, so this is what we get as a consolation.
I thought Space Squad was.
Space Squad was more of an everybody movie kind of thing.
Okay, I don't think that Duo the World basically being the star of the show was everybody kind of movie, but okay.
Like,
though, if you want a good representation of Duo the World as a character, this movie is perfect.
Yeah, like
this ranges his entire character spectrum.
I have not seen KyuuRanger, and what I saw here is exactly what I heard about.
Every bit of it. The only difference is, unlike here, he doesn't just fuck off mid-fight. In the show, he sits around, whereas here he just fucked off the entire fight, and then got sad because and then got sad because nobody noticed he left.
Oh, people noticed, but there was more important things going on.
But he doesn't see it that way. That is very much how he is throughout the entire show.
So, Decade, if you're able to speak, any thoughts on Juo the World? Alright, guess he's still having internet trouble.
Hold up, what did you just say?
Juo the World, go.
Oh, yeah, that was great. That basically was just trolling the whole Heisei era. Well, even before that, with crossovers being trying to be serious, all the teammates getting together has to be some big event, and he just totally trolled it. So yeah, that was great.
So, Don Arkage summons Don Armage's 3 big generals, and I can't be the only one that saw them and went, who are those guys?
I have distinct memory of all 3 of them because of Twitter and fan art. So yeah. So I forgot the names, but I do remember who they are.
Like
Same. They just look so freaky.
Yeah, very much. It's like to me it was that coupled with at least they didn't do the typical crossover thing where they bring back an extremely old ass villain for no reason.
That's what I thought they did.
Which is sadly that's not what they did.
Like, after I realized that they were the 3 generals, the only one that still stood out to me was the one that helped turn Naga evil. Like, the other 2, I have no idea what their contribution was.
Well, I mean, at least they didn't bring back Corvo.
So, this fight is awesome, and it's full of great moments and references. Especially when Shoulanpo reacts to Lupin, to Parent X / Lupin X.
That was a beautiful moment.
Uh,
That and Raptor having a delusion mid-fight.
Spada comparing fighting to cooking. Just, like, it signifies, like, what makes the characters all unique, as well as showing off their unique fighting styles so much. Like, when Hame gets so excited that, like, all the girls are together, like, hey, it's a girls' party! And Tsukazu's just like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. Also, I love that during Raptor's, fantasy, the monster is in the background peering in through the window.
I missed that. I'll have to go back and check that out.
I noticed that the first time. It's like, that is great.
Like, this is what I mentioned. Like, the attention to detail on all of this is just fantastic. Like, none of the characters seem to have changed from where they were at the specific point in time that this movie takes place. So nothing seems out of place. Like, all the characters react and behave exactly as we would expect them to.
And I think that I just really felt the love for Sentai, and like, and I'm not a huge Sentai fan. Like, I generally don't watch Sentai, but I just felt the love coming from this movie and how much the people who are making it care and how much the actors were having so much fun with the movie that it was just a blast to watch. Despite
You can really feel the love that everyone had putting into this. Uh, I don't think Lucky uses Orion form in this.
Just for the finisher.
oh no,
Oh, he
he does
does.
the finisher.
Okay.
Which I'm glad they didn't overuse, because I felt that got very overused in the show.
To be honest, I think the show it was appropriate because there were two Red Rangers and there was like a color clash kind of thing. So it worked better. I do excuse the show for using Orion a lot,
Yeah, that's
but
how I saw it. It's
yeah,
like,
here
give him a unique color.
Like for that reason, yeah, it's very very acceptable. But to me, it runs along the same lines of like Common Riders just spamming the shit out of their final.
You really didn't like that Kiva did that, do you?
No, I didn't. I really did not.
Uh,
And Kiva's one of my
Hey,
favorite shows.
I don't know what to say. I tried warning you beforehand.
okay. You know what I was gonna say is it was either that or Seiji Kaiba just breaks his back while wearing the Kiva suit. So
Yeah, that suit had a lot of metal.
Like, I mean, I it gets a pass because the show is awesome. But damn, it's like, but that's what I spent a lot of time looking at Orion as is. Oh, you're just spamming your final form. I didn't really look at it as let's differentiate the characters up a little bit.
Uh, So, after they defeat Don Arcage, of course he has to grow 50 meters tall or whatever. So naturally, it's time for a big mech fight. So LupinRangers and PatRangers all call their mechs together, jump inside. Goody combines them all together into what's it called?
Um, good Kaiser VSX.
Good feeling Kaiser VSX. And everyone is in their cockpits, and the KyuUrangers jumped aboard too.
And Jewel of the World is still being left out.
How did you get in? Don't worry about it.
The fact it just gets brushed off.
I do love how Hame is like giddy, commenting like, man, you have so much room in here. Because their cockpits are literally like one-seater orbs. And then, of course, after the big finisher, everybody out! Goody just kicks everyone out and flies off as usual.
Yeah, in terms of the actual fight, it's not as great as some other mashup mech fights, but it was pretty funny. This was not a very serious movie, so I liked it as fun watching them interact in the cramped cockpits.
The ground fight more than made up for the mech fight.
Oh, for sure.
Well, this is one of the few Sentais that did this and didn't stupidly merge the mechs together. Because usually that's what we get is we get two Sentai mechs that are merged together somehow. And honestly, I think the worst perpetrator of that I think was Tokuger and KyuuRanger, where it just had a bunch of batteries on it. It's like, but I like the fact that they did do that because that would have been really hard to do with the orbs versus, vehicles.
Okay, since I have not seen much Sentai, so I don't know if this was a good practice. Because Gokaiger and Goseiger didn't do it, and Gokaiger and Go Buster didn't do it. So
I mean, there have
So
been a few that haven't,
there
but
there's a lot of Sentai where they would swap out one mech piece.
okay. Because the only one that I distinctly remember, but it was cool as hell for me. Like in Kamen Sentai, Kamen Rider versus Kamen Rider, the Heisei Shua thing. I forgot what is that called. Yeah, where Deno train merges with Tokyuger, this one, and King just gets his dinosaur head to turn into a train to make a really clusterfuck of mech. That I thought was really cool.
like there are times it's done really really well, and then there are just times where it's just done terribly.
After the mech fight, all the characters say their goodbyes, and the credits start rolling, and we get the KyuuRanger dance with everyone.
And let's not forget Jewel of the World pouting on the sidelines.
Yeah, yeah. When I say everyone, like Jewel of the World is dancing, Kogure is dancing, Director Hilltop and Jim Carter are dancing, like everyone.
Q Q Tama 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 Q Q.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. It was a pretty heartwarming farewell. But what I loved was
Yeah.
the shots of Tsurugi and Stinger and Toma and Sakuya in their outfits.
That's right. I forgot about Tuma and Sakuya and the leotards.
The fact that they brought that back.
One more time.
Okay. The really fun. I saw that a lot of people were telling to bring back the humping sequence from Kyutama dance, and they were disappointed that didn't show back up.
So, final thoughts on the movie. Decade?
Yeah, it was pretty. I know the transition from eras isn't as big of a deal as compared to Kamen Rider, but it was still a pretty fun way to send off the Heisei era. Even though technically this came out before, but for us, we saw it after the best. That's what I consider it.
It's a great film, but I just am not sure whether KyuUranger is actually popular in Japan, because KyuUranger got a lot of movies.
Like for me, this was a fantastic movie. It's one of the few ones that I was hyped up the entire time, and one of the few where I've literally looked at and wait, what the fuck?
What are you doing here?
Like it took me a second to realize it was Jewel of the World, because he does look fair different from the way he does in the show, because time does that to a person. It took me seeing his outfit to go, wait a minute, oh, that's who you are. Why the fuck are you here? It's like the question didn't change. It was just
Like,
now there was more confusion.
as soon as I figured out who he was, I paused and I immediately messaged Vashi, like, what are you doing here? Where did you come from?
The best part, that was one of my favorite messages that I've gotten from you as you've watched one of these. Because I tend to watch them as soon as I get them, so I usually get Rye's thoughts on them as he's watching the episodes and the movies and stuff like that. And it was just, I could tell it was in the show. Just because of that. It was fucking beautiful. the fact that all the characters felt very, very true to where we left the characters at when this took place, and then seeing the way the Lupin Rangers were, earlier on in the series, it works very, very beautifully together. Even with the fact that obviously we saw this after Lupin Ranger aired or finished airing, it's still they still feel exactly like they should. It is by far one of my favorite v-cinemas that have come out.
Yeah, it's a great movie. That's all I can say. Like I had fun throughout
Yeah,
the movie.
I
There was no point where it was boring.
s-
That's an achievement.
start to finish, I had the stupidest grin on my face the entire time. Like, oh, it was just that enjoyable. So, anything else anyone wants to talk about before we end this podcast? All right. Oh, okay. So, thanks for joining us tonight, everybody. We'll be back to our regular program next week. Real Soldier on Tuesday, Kamen Rider 01 on Wednesday, and Power Rangers Beast Morphers on Thursday. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening.
Bye bye.
Thank you all for listening. See you guys next week.